What if I told you that one of WWE's biggest stars, an absolute household name, is still living like he's broke? No gated community. No marble floors. No beachfront mansion with an ocean view. Just a regular house in a regular town with a mattress on the floor. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ring, another WWE superstar has built himself a kingdom. A private palace. A modern-day fortress worth so much, it could make even the most elite Hollywood celebrities do a double take. We're talking about a place with a helipad, oceanfront views, and a golden gate engraved with his own logo. This is the story of two men, two champions, who once stood side by side. And now, they live in two wildly different worlds. This isn't just about money. This is about mindset. This is $1 versus $100 million inside WWE wrestlers' homes. And trust me, you won't believe who lives where. Let's start with something no fan expects. In a world where image is everything, where larger-than-life personas dominate the screen and social media, one man has decided to live small on purpose. That man is Seth Rollins. Now, before we get to the extravagant lifestyle of Roman Reigns, the man who truly lives like a tribal king, we need to understand the quiet rebellion Rollins is leading. Not inside the ring, but behind closed doors. You see, Seth Rollins wasn't handed anything. He didn't come from a wrestling family. He wasn't born into stardom. He was a kid from Iowa with a dream and $5 in his pocket. He wrestled in half-filled gymnasiums, slept on friends' couches, and sometimes in the back seat of a car parked behind a gas station. He wasn't thinking about private chefs and pools with waterfalls. He was thinking about how he'd afford his next meal. That's not speculation. That's real. And today, despite being one of the most decorated WWE superstars of the modern era, a Grand Slam champion, a WrestleMania headliner, a future Hall of Famer, Rollins still lives in a modest house near his hometown. No mansion, no paparazzi, just simplicity. And here's what's wild. He chooses that life.
He could move to LA. He could build a fortress in Miami.
He could live in a penthouse overlooking New York City. But he doesn't.
Why?
In his own words, "I never want to forget where I came from." Now, shift your attention. Because while Seth Rollins is grounding himself in humility, Roman Reigns is building a throne. Reigns isn't just rich, he's legend rich. Multi-million-dollar endorsements. Main event paychecks. A brand that spans wrestling, Hollywood, and pop culture. And his home? Let's just say it's more than a house. It's an empire. We'll get into the lavish details later, like the marble floors, the private gym, the ocean views that don't look real. But know this. When Roman Reigns walks through his front door, it's not just a home. It's a statement. This isn't about jealousy. This isn't even about success. It's about two paths. Two philosophies. One man lives in the house he needs. The other lives in the house he deserves. And in WWE, that contrast tells us everything we need to know about who they are. So, by the end of this video, we're going to break it all down. What Seth Rollins' humble home reveals about his mindset. Why Roman Reigns' luxury fortress is more than just wealth, its identity. And what it really means to live like a champion. But before we go any further, take a second to ask yourself this. If you had millions in the bank and global fame at your fingertips, would you live humbly like Rollins, or rule your block like Reigns? Because this isn't just a story about real estate. It's a story about values, about struggle and success, about remembering where you came from and knowing exactly where you're going. So, buckle up. Because in the world of WWE, there's always more than meets the eye. And this time, what's behind the curtain is what's behind the front door. Seth Rollins is one of the most recognizable faces in WWE today. He's headlined WrestleMania, stood toe-to-toe with legends, held championship gold more times than most can count, and redefined what it means to be a modern-day superstar. But behind all the lights, the music, and the designer drip, lies a story that fans rarely see. Not the story told in promos or documentaries, but the story etched into the walls of a creaky house in Davenport, Iowa. Before he was the visionary, he was just Colby Lopez. A small-town kid with big dreams, a chipped shoulder, and no real plan other than make it in wrestling or die trying. There was no fame, no fortune, no WWE Performance Center waiting for him with open arms. What he had instead was a group of equally broke friends, a rundown Ford Taurus, and the kind of desperation that only burns in people who've tasted rock bottom more than once. When people say, Rollins came from nothing, it's not a slogan. It's not a catchphrase for a merch drop. It's the reality. He lived every single day for years. Picture this. A dim, cold basement. One flickering bulb overhead. Concrete floor. No furniture. Just a stained mattress laid flat on the ground. No bed frame. No box spring. A single milk crate holding up a tiny microwave. No toaster, just a butter knife and patience. In the winter, the heating barely worked. He would sometimes wrestle in 2 or 3 layers just to stay warm when he got home. The only thing colder than the room was the future. Nothing was guaranteed. There was no fan base cheering in arenas, no WrestleMania dream on the horizon. There were only long drives, 3 a.m. fast food meals, sore muscles, and the lingering question, is this even worth it? Seth trained in barely legal facilities, dingy backrooms that smelled of sweat and mildew. The rings were held together with duct tape and hope. He shared locker rooms with guys who couldn't afford boots, who'd beg for rides, who sometimes worked just to get a hot dog and handshake. That was the independent wrestling scene he was molded in. He showered in gas stations more than he did at home. He once told a story about how he and his buddies would rotate sleeping in the car and on a friend's couch, depending on who had a better show payout that weekend. And when the car broke down, which it did, often, they'd hitchhike or bum a ride from another wrestler on the card. There are even stories of him wearing his ring gear for days at a time, not because he was lazy, but because it was warmer than his street clothes, and he didn't have a working dryer. This was his grind. This was his everyday. And then things started to change. Slowly. A break here. A booking there. A flight instead of a bus. Raw came calling. Then NXT. Then finally the main roster. The Shield. Suddenly, the kid from Iowa was performing in front of tens of thousands. He had gear stitched with custom designs, pyro exploding in sync with his entrance music, and fans screaming his name from every continent on the map. But here's the twist. Even after all the fame, all the money, all the red carpets and WrestleMania main events, Seth Rollins didn't go Hollywood. He didn't pack his bags and move to LA. He didn't buy a high-rise penthouse in New York. He didn't build a mega mansion in Miami. Instead, he moved into a quiet, modest home not too far from where he grew up. A single-family house with a small backyard. Nothing flashy. No pool. No marble statues or spiral staircases. Just a comfortable, functional home in the same kind of neighborhood he once dreamed about escaping.
Why?
Because he remembered. He remembered the floor he slept on. The car that wouldn't start. The gas station showers and basement gyms. He remembered who he was before the lights, before the belts, before the crowd. To him, that house isn't just a place to sleep. It's a symbol, a reminder that humility isn't weakness, it's power, it's control. When the world starts calling you a god, it takes something real to remind you that you're still just a man. And Seth doesn't just live modestly. He wears it like a badge of honor. He's known to walk around town alone. No security, no entitlement. Just a man doing his grocery shopping, grabbing coffee, and maybe catching a high school football game on a Friday night. Fans who've met him off-screen often say the same thing. He's real. Like, shockingly real. And in today's era, where stars often flex their wealth more than their work ethic, that makes him different. Refreshing. Respected. To this day, there are rooms in his home that don't even have expensive decor. A wrestling mat rolled up in the corner. A wall full of comic books and action figures. A garage that doubles as a gym. It's not a mansion. It's a memory, frozen in time, built from struggle. You'd think a guy like that would eventually trade up, move out, build something worthy of his bank account. But that's the thing about Rollins. He's not interested in proving his wealth. He's interested in protecting his roots. Because while everyone's racing to show off how far they've come, he's making sure he never forgets where he started.
He's not broke. He's not stuck.
He's just grounded. And that might be the rarest thing in wrestling today. From gas stations to grand slams, from back seats to backflips off ladders, from no heat in Iowa winters to the hottest segments on Monday Night Raw, Seth Rollins built everything he has. Brick by brick.
Sweat by sweat.
Dollar by dollar. And yet, when he opens his front door, you'd never know he's a millionaire. That's the power of humility. That's the $1 house. Roman Reigns isn't just a WWE superstar. He's a symbol, a force, the embodiment of dominance, legacy, and power. Inside the ring, he's known as the tribal chief, the head of the table. But outside the ring, in the real world, his presence is no less commanding. Because when Roman Reigns goes home, he doesn't go to a house. He returns to a kingdom. While Seth Rollins may live in a modest dwelling that whispers humility, Roman's home screams royalty. Let's start with the location. Roman Reigns resides in one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in the state of Florida. A community where privacy is enforced by miles of private road and walls tall enough to keep the outside world out, and the illusion of normal life far, far away. At the front of his estate is a custom-built gate. Not just any gate. This one has Roman's logo laser-etched in gold and black steel. It's not subtle. It's a statement. A declaration. You've just entered the realm of someone who doesn't just live at the top, he owns the top. The mansion itself? It's an architectural marvel. Sprawling across several acres of pristine land, the house is rumored to be worth more than $10 million. But in truth, the price tag doesn't begin to tell the story. This isn't a real estate listing, it's a monument. Roman's home features 6 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms, each designed with both opulence and precision. The floors are pure marble, not laminate, not polished tile. Real, hand-cut marble imported from Italy. Heated, of course, because cold feet are for challengers, not champions. The living room opens into a double-story space with 20-foot glass windows offering panoramic views of the ocean. At sunrise, the light floods the room in gold. At night, the moonlight bounces off the ocean into the walls of a house that seems almost suspended between the heavens and the water. Connected to the main living area is a gourmet kitchen, equipped with 2 full-sized refrigerators, a private wine cellar, and a chef's island that looks like it came straight out of a 5-star Miami restaurant. It's rumored Roman has a personal chef who prepares his meals daily based on his training cycles. No protein shakes from gas stations here. Every calorie is calculated. Every meal, measured. Of course, there's the gym. Not a garage setup with a few dumbbells. We're talking a full-scale training facility with squat racks, cardio machines, a recovery suite with cryotherapy, and even a personal ring for practicing drills. This is where the tribal chief stays sharp, where the strength we see on television is sculpted, rep by rep, away from the cameras. And then there's the entertainment. Roman doesn't unwind in front of a 50-inch flat screen. He has a custom-built home theater with seating for 20, full surround sound, reclining leather seats, blackout curtains, and LED lighting programmed to match the mood of whatever he's watching. On the upper floors, his master suite is the crown jewel. A private retreat with its own balcony, overlooking the infinity pool and the Atlantic Ocean beyond. The room is larger than most apartments, and its bathroom, clad in black granite, gold fixtures, and a spa-sized rainfall shower. Outside, the estate continues to flex. The backyard is paradise, a resort-style pool, a hot tub, multiple lounging decks, and a full outdoor kitchen with built-in grills and bar seating. Palm trees sway in the coastal breeze while the scent of salt water drifts through the air. But it doesn't stop there. Behind the main house is a helipad. Yes, a functioning, licensed helipad. Roman doesn't always fight traffic. Sometimes he flies over it. It's not known how often he uses it, but the fact that it's there speaks volumes. The tribal chief doesn't commute. He arrives. His garage? A luxury car lover's dream. Inside are a fleet of customized vehicles, including a matte black Escalade, a tricked-out Dodge Challenger Hellcat, and a limited-edition Bentley SUV. These aren't show cars. They're daily drivers, for a man whose daily life looks like most people's fantasy. The security? Ironclad. Armed personnel patrol the grounds. High-definition surveillance monitors every angle of the property. Guests enter only by invitation, and even then, they're screened twice before reaching the front door. This isn't just about luxury. This is about status.
Power.
Image. Roman Reigns has constructed more than a house. He's crafted an empire. A fortress where the head of the table can rule in peace, on his terms, without intrusion. It's the kind of home that tells you everything you need to know about the man who lives there, without him ever having to say a word. But here's what makes it even more fascinating. Roman didn't always live this way. He came from humble roots, too. His family struggled. He played football. He fought through injuries, setbacks, and personal tragedies. He battled cancer, not once, but twice. And he didn't just survive it. He came back stronger. So when you see his home today, it's not just bricks and wealth, it's resilience turned into reality. Every square foot represents a fight won. Every room, a reminder that he didn't get here by luck. He earned every inch. There's a reason Roman Reigns commands respect the second he walks into a room. It's not just the titles or the character. It's the life he built, the standard he set, the expectation that he is different. While some stars fade when the cameras go off, Roman's light doesn't dim. It intensifies. His lifestyle reinforces what the WWE Universe has long suspected. He's not just playing a champion. He is one. People talk about kayfabe, keeping up the act outside the ring. But with Roman, there's no act. The tribal chief isn't just a persona. It's a lifestyle. And his mansion? That's not for vanity. That's for legacy. Because when the day comes that he steps away from the ring, his house will still be there, standing as a monument to a man who didn't just entertain millions. He ruled over them. This is what it looks like when power meets purpose. When fame is matched by fortune. When a WWE legend doesn't just live like a star, but like a dynasty. This is Roman Reigns. And this is the $100 million mansion. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Two men. One industry. Same starting line. But somewhere along the way, the paths diverged. Not in terms of success or legacy. Both have achieved that in their own right, but in how they choose to live. And that choice tells us more about them than any championship ever could. Let's rewind the clock. In 2012, they burst onto the WWE scene as part of the Shield, Rollins, Reigns, and Ambrose. United in black. A storm of chaos, fury, and domination. They moved in sync, fought in sync, spoke as one voice. But as their careers evolved, so did their identities. Rollins became the architect, the calculated tactician who could see 3 moves ahead. Reigns became the powerhouse, the silent juggernaut whose presence alone changed matches before the bell even rang. And now, years later, that same evolution is reflected in their lives, starting with the 4 walls they call home. Seth Rollins lives in simplicity. A modest home, modest life. There are no paparazzi lurking outside his property. No aerial shots of 10-bedroom compounds. No luxury cars posted on Instagram with hashtags like #blessed or #grindpayoff. Rollins walks into town. He shops local. He lives like a man who's still one step removed from the guy who used to crash on sofas and sleep in vans. Roman Reigns? He walks into rooms, and the air changes. He lives in a gated fortress that would make tech CEOs raise eyebrows. Custom-built walls. Ocean views. Imported floors. Private chefs. Security detail. This isn't flash. This is empire. It's calculated. It's deliberate. It tells the world, this man is not just successful. He's in a league of his own. And the contrast goes far beyond brick and mortar. Take their routines. Rollins is known to do solo morning jogs around quiet neighborhoods. You'll find him training at local CrossFit gyms, blending in with regulars. No entourage. No spectacle. Just focus. Roman's workouts? Private facility. Top-of-the-line equipment. Personal trainers. Professional chefs planning every meal. Each session tracked, logged, and optimized for performance. He's not working out, he's preparing for battle. Then there's fashion. Rollins, though now known for his eccentric ring outfits, keeps it simple in everyday life. Hoodies.
Tees.
Running shoes. He dresses for function, not applause. Reigns, on the other hand, wears his aura. Whether it's tailored suits, fitted jackets, or casual wear, he looks like he just walked off a movie set. Even in silence, he carries gravitas. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. He knows he represents something bigger than himself. The difference is philosophy. Rollins operates with a chip on his shoulder. Everything about him, his lifestyle, his choices, says, I haven't forgotten what it cost me to get here. His house isn't small because he can't afford more. It's small because he doesn't need more. It keeps him grounded, sharp,
real.
Reigns operates with legacy in mind. Every move is intentional. Every decision builds upon the empire he's crafted. His mansion is more than comfort, it's continuation. A tribute to the Anoa'i family, to his role as tribal chief, to the image of dominance he embodies. He's not just living for now. He's building for generations. But here's the most important thing. Neither man is wrong. Because this story isn't about who has the bigger house. It's about who understands their identity more deeply. Rollins' home says, I'm still the underdog. I'm still fighting. Reigns' mansion says, I've fought. I've won. And now I rule. And both messages are powerful. For fans, this contrast is eye-opening. We tend to assume that all superstars live the same life. Expensive cars, exclusive parties, million-dollar homes. But in reality, WWE is just like any other profession. Some people stay grounded. Others rise and elevate everything around them. But for Seth and Roman, their choices aren't random. They're reflections, echoes of the wars they've fought internally and externally. Rollins chooses humility because his identity was forged in hardship. He doesn't just remember his struggle, he honors it. Roman chooses grandeur because his journey wasn't just about winning titles. It was about elevating an entire legacy. He doesn't just enjoy wealth, he carries it like a crown. One doesn't need gold-plated sinks to feel fulfilled. The other doesn't need modesty to stay authentic. They are simply different men, walking different paths, toward the same goal, to leave a mark on this world that outlasts the spotlight. And maybe that's the takeaway. Success isn't a one-size-fits-all formula. It's not measured by the number of zeros in a home's value, but by the clarity with which you choose your life. Some rise and stay grounded. Some rise and build palaces. And some, like Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, do exactly what they were meant to, live lives that mirror their message. The WWE Universe is loud, passionate, unforgiving, and always watching. It doesn't just react to what happens inside the ring, it reacts to everything outside of it too, especially when it comes to how its superstars live. And the contrast between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns hasn't gone unnoticed. Let's start with the man of modest means. When fans found out that Seth Rollins, multi-time world champion, WrestleMania headliner, face of Monday Night Raw, still lives in a quiet, humble house in Iowa, the internet exploded. Tweets like, "Bro really lives like it's still 2006 and he's wrestling in church gyms." Rollins shops at the same Target I do. Dude's a millionaire and still humble. Respect. Seth Rollins, proof that you can touch the sky and still walk on the ground. Reddit threads filled up with admiration for how grounded he is. Fans started sharing stories of spotting him in local diners at high school games, just casually living like any other guy. No entourage. No designer parade. Just Seth, hoodie, baseball cap, coffee in hand. One fan wrote, "I met Rollins at a gas station once.
I was too shocked to say anything.
He smiled, held the door for me, and walked out like he wasn't one of the biggest names in wrestling. Realest moment of my life." That kind of authenticity is rare in today's world, let alone in WWE. And fans see it. They respect it. Rollins isn't just playing the role of a visionary, he's living it, with intention and discipline that resonates beyond the screen. But then there's Roman. And the conversation around him? It's entirely different, but no less intense. When drone footage surfaced online showing a glimpse of Roman Reigns' Florida estate, complete with massive pool, private gym, and a helipad, the reactions ranged from awe to disbelief. Instagram comments poured in. Of course, the tribal chief lives like royalty. This isn't a surprise, it's prophecy. He's not rich. He's Roman Reigns rich. That man's house is bigger than my entire block. And you know what? He deserves it. WWE fans weren't envious, they were impressed. Because when Roman Reigns walks onto the screen, he doesn't just talk about dominance. He embodies it. His home reflects that aura of power, control, and superiority. Some fans even joked, "This man probably has a room just for his entrance music. I bet his kitchen has tribal symbols carved into the countertops." But beneath the humor, there's admiration. Roman's lifestyle is not just a flex, it's a continuation of his character. It's the head of the table, living at the top of the world. What's most fascinating is how both men are respected, despite their stark differences. One lives like a minimalist warrior, the other like a royal conqueror. And yet, both are admired because their choices feel authentic. That's the keyword: authenticity. WWE fans don't necessarily care how much money a superstar has. What they care about is whether that person is real. Is their lifestyle an extension of who they are, or just an image? With Rollins, fans see the fighter who never let go of his past. With Reigns, they see the leader who claimed everything his lineage promised. Both paths feel earned. Both choices feel honest. And in today's age of viral lies, curated Instagram lives, and filtered identities, that kind of honesty stands out like a spotlight in the dark. It sparks conversation. It builds connection. It transforms these superstars from untouchable icons into something far more powerful, human. When it comes to WWE superstars, fans often assume every wrestler is rich. But the truth is far more nuanced. To understand the real difference between someone living in a $1 home and another commanding a $100 million lifestyle, we need to look beyond the glamour and into the numbers. Let's talk economics. The average WWE superstar, especially those starting out in developmental systems like NXT, earns anywhere between $50,000 to $150,000 annually. That's a respectable income, but it's nowhere near enough to afford custom-built mansions or private chefs. Mid-tier talent, those regularly appearing on weekly shows but not necessarily in main events, can pull in between $250,000 to $500,000 per year, depending on their position, merch sales, and how often they appear on premium live events. But when you hit the top, everything changes. Main event stars like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins reportedly make well over $2 to $5 million annually, and that's just from base WWE salary. Add in bonuses, merchandise royalties, licensing deals, appearance fees, and potential acting or sponsorship opportunities, and that number climbs rapidly. According to a 2024 industry report from Forbes, Roman Reigns was estimated to earn over $10 million annually, putting him on par with athletes in the NFL and UFC. His contract reportedly includes private travel accommodations, special booking privileges, and a significantly reduced travel schedule, all negotiated as part of his premium talent status. Seth Rollins, while slightly lower on the pay scale, still clears $3 to $4 million a year, thanks to consistent main event work, merchandise popularity, and public media appearances. He's one of WWE's most merchandised superstars and a constant face of Monday Night Raw. So the question becomes, why doesn't Rollins live like it? Here's where psychology and financial strategy intersect. According to financial consultant Greg Harmon, who has worked with several retired athletes, it comes down to wealth mindset versus performance mindset. He explains it like this. Some athletes want their lifestyle to reflect their success. Others want their discipline to reflect it. What you spend money on isn't always a reflection of how much you have. It's a reflection of how much you value simplicity versus symbolism. Rollins appears to be the embodiment of that performance mindset. Low overhead, local real estate, private lifestyle, no flashy assets beyond what's needed. Roman, on the other hand, leans into symbolism. Every square foot of his home is a message. To fans. To competitors. To himself. That message? I am who I say I am. In WWE, image is part of the product. For someone like Reigns, whose entire character is built on power, authority, and being untouchable, living modestly would feel off-brand. His mansion isn't just comfort, it's continuity. His estate is the physical manifestation of the character he's spent years building. Financial experts often warn athletes about lifestyle inflation, the tendency to spend more as you earn more. But Roman Reigns doesn't just spend. He invests in an image that reinforces his dominance. His home is his fortress, both literally and narratively. And let's not ignore another important factor: legacy. The Anoa'i family, from which Reigns hails, has been a part of WWE history for generations. His home isn't just a reward, it's a generational marker. A physical sign that the empire is strong, that the dynasty isn't just alive, it's thriving. On the flip side, Rollins isn't trying to uphold a family, he's building one. His minimalist lifestyle isn't just a financial decision, it's a psychological one. It keeps him connected to the fight, the grind, the fire that made him who he is. So, when fans see the contrast, it's more than a tale of two houses. It's a clash of ideologies. One man builds wealth to protect humility. The other builds power to preserve legacy. And both, by every measure of economics, are winning. This was $1 versus $100 million WWE edition. And if you think this was crazy, wait until you see what we uncover next. Make sure you hit subscribe, because we're just getting started.